Hello! Welcome back. Fight Noise is back. You could hardly wait, I'm sure. Gonna get right into it real quick. We're gonna talk about UFC 250. What I'm so excited about is that UFC 250, as of like a week ago, to be perfectly frank, was looking like a pretty bad card. And then somehow, overnight, the UFC matchmakers worked some serious magic, and this card is looking insanely awesome. Stacked. Not necessarily stacked with superstars. Biggest star on the card is probably Amanda Nunes, and she is certainly a star. But not a ton of star power, just a ton of great matchups, extremely fan-friendly fights, fights that have divisional significance, some really fantastic stuff. So let's just jump right in, and I'm going to explain to you why you should be as excited as I am, aside from the fact that I just drank 5 cups of coffee. That aside, there's still excitement to be had, and here's why. Top of the card. I'm just going to look right here at my little trusty computer screen. We got, right at the top, Amanda Nunes versus Felicia Spencer. So I haven't looked at the odds yet. I'm assuming that Amanda Nunes is a very heavy favorite, and I think that makes total sense. But here's why I think this will be a highly entertaining fight and why no one should be counting Spencer out just yet. Obviously, she doesn't have nearly the same kind of accomplishment and experience as Nunes. Nunes is probably the female GOAT, certainly the 135 GOAT, and probably the 145 GOAT too, even though she's only had a couple of fights there. But I mean, how many fights have even happened at that weight class in UFC history? So, long story short, she's obviously highly accomplished. Spencer, on the other hand, relatively new to the UFC, not nearly the same kind of credentials and experience and track record as Nunes, but she has had competition at the highest level. She fought Cyborg. She lost that fight, but didn't do too badly. And what she demonstrated in that fight, I think, is the same thing that's going to make this a more competitive fight than people realize, and might even create an opening for Spencer to do a lot better than people think. And it's not an unwinnable fight for her. What Spencer has is she's big and strong for the weight class. She's a legit 145er, and she appears to be extremely durable. She went the full distance with Cyborg, absorbed her best punishment, definitely lost, but was able to hang in there with Cyborg for 5 rounds. If she can hang in there with Nunes through the first 1, 2, 3 rounds and survive the early onslaught, later in the fight it could get real interesting. If she's able to sap Nunes' energy, again, this is not what I'm predicting. I'm going to say Nunes wins first, second round KO in spectacular fashion. But if there's a way that she's more likely to lose, it would be if Spencer's able to push it to the later rounds and wear down Nunes and capitalize late in the 4th and the 5th round. I don't see that happening either. Even if it goes the distance, I still think we're looking at a Nunes victory. But this could be a very, very fun fight. Perhaps one-sided, but very fun nonetheless. So fun main event. Moving right down, we have the return of Cody Garbrandt and the return of Rafael. So long-time staples of the top 5, top 3 maybe arguably, of the bantamweight division. Cody Garbrandt still, and one time, and I would say still, big star rising. He obviously, his upward momentum as a UFC star was derailed pretty significantly, of course, by the losses to TJ Dillashaw. And then I believe he's coming off also a loss to, I forget the gentleman's name, but another KO loss. High-level guy, but Munoz, I believe. So he's had a rough 3 fights. I think he's coming off 3 losses in a row. But the guy is obviously insanely talented. If we're even going to get a glimmer of the fighter who beat Dominic Cruz in their fight a couple years ago, this is an extremely talented, extremely skilled fighter who is still relatively young. I think Garbrandt's still only around 30. He's definitely not over the hill age-wise as an athlete. There's absolutely no reason why he couldn't recapture that former momentum. Definitely a rough run of fights. Perhaps one could argue that he deserves to get a little bit of the credit back for the TJ fight, since TJ popped for EPO following those and that whole controversy. One way or the other, when was the last time you saw a boring Cody Garbrandt fight? Never. Never, ever, ever. So, We're going to get a highly entertaining fight, and it's going to be against one of the most skilled guys in the division for nearly a decade now, a Sun Sao, a guy who hovered right in the title contention picture for years, and I think he was it, who did he lose to eventually that, I think it must have been Marias. I think he lost to Marias. Marias choked him out on that amazing run he had, where he finished, I think it was a number of top 5 fighters in a row right before fighting for the title and losing to Cejudo. And I believe that's a Sun Sao's only loss in the division. So you got, long story short, 2 elite bantamweights, both coming off losses, both looking to get a second chance, get back in the picture. And again, the bantamweight division is wide open right now. The champion just vacated. So if ever you had 2 guys who had a shot, were at the top of the mountain, took a step back, but now can glimpse the opportunity to get back there, now is the time. There is insane opportunity at bantamweight. It's wide open right now. So, I mean, we have the Aldo versus Jan coming up apparently for the vacant title. But as of right now, there isn't even a champ. That is what you call an open division. So lots of opportunity here. Both these guys are going to come in with a tremendous urgency to capitalize on this moment in time, and they're phenomenal. So that's going to be an amazing fight. Moving right on down. So for this next fight, a lot of the stuff I just said is going to apply. Another great bantamweight fight, elite bantamweights, open division, great opportunity. It raises the stakes, and when you get 2 hyper-skilled guys in there who can glimpse the gold right there, it's right there for the grabbing. Basically, whoever puts on the most impressive performance amongst the bantamweights in these 2 fights in the main card is probably going to get a title shot. It's probably going to get the winner of Yan Aldo. That's a lot of incentive. So the other fight, of course, is Aljamain Sterling versus Corey Sandhagen. Amazing fight. Amazing stylistic matchup. 2 of the more unique and creative and sort of just unusual styles in all of the UFC. Great fight. Amazingly skilled, amazing range, just a great stylistic matchup. It's just no way it's not going to be fun. And winner could get a title shot. Highly incentivized, both guys. So that's going to be an amazing fight. Moving on down, we got Neil Magny versus Anthony Rocco Martin. That's a really great fight too. Anthony Martin is on a pretty great run the past few years. Really just building up as a moving up the ladder in welterweight in very impressive fashion. I believe he had the loss to, I could be wrong about this, fact check me, but I believe he had the loss to Damian Maia, which of course is nothing to scoff at, it's Damian Maia, but prior to that was on just an insane run of defeating very solid welterweight competition, really rounding out his skill set. He's always had very dangerous boxing, very dangerous striking and hands, but appears to have developed really, or maybe he always had it and I didn't know, but appears to have developed really solid wrestling, really solid submission defense and submissions of his own. Very dangerous, well-rounded, up-and-coming welterweight, fighting Neil Magny, a proven top-level welterweight who's been around forever, extremely well-rounded, extremely skilled, extremely durable. He's going to be there every second of the fight, in your face, all action all the time. That's a great stylistic matchup. I expect that to stay largely on the feet and for it to be highly entertaining. That's a great one. Moving on down the card, this last card on the main card, the last fight on the main card, might be my favorite one in the whole card, in the whole event. Eddie Wineland versus Sean O'Malley. Amazing fight. I think this is a pretty substantial jump up in competition for Sean O'Malley. Eddie Wineland, obviously a veteran of the sport, tremendously skilled, long-time top bantamweight. He may perhaps be on the back 9 of his career, arguably. Never say never. But nonetheless, probably overall the most skilled guy that O'Malley has ever fought, and probably by a lot. So this is a big jump up in competition. It's a quick turnaround from his last fight. This is O'Malley really diving into the top. Is Wineland ranked? Apparently not ranked currently, but Wineland feels like a top 10 bantamweight. Let me put it that way, or certainly a top 15 one. So this feels like a big step up from OMalley, fighting a guy with a bit of a name, and an opportunity for OMalley to really take that next step into the upper half of the division and start fighting some top contenders, should he be able to get past Wineland, which of course, no easy task. If Wineland is able to get a win over OMalley, perhaps captures a little bit of OMalley's star and momentum, and again, this bantamweight division wide open. Who knows what could happen? Wineland could be priming himself for another run. It's not out of the realm of possibility, especially in this current 135 landscape. So that's the main card. That alone is fantastic and worth watching. But it doesn't end there. Quick thoughts on the prelims. Alex Caceres versus Chase Hooper. That's an incredibly fun fight. Huge step up in competition for Chase Hooper. Chase Hooper really made a name for himself with his skill and his activity inside the octagon, but also, man, that's a funny guy. If you haven't seen the clip of him interviewing Jorge Masvidal and unknowing Jorge Masvidal and asking Jorge Masvidal why he knocked out his dad, Ben Askren being his dad, not really his dad, but they have the same kind of hair, and Jorge Masvidal thinking for a second he's talking to the son of the man who he decapitated with that flying knee in the first 5 seconds of the fight. It's hilarious. It's funny. So the guy's got personality. He gets social media, and he's quite a skilled fighter. So very interesting to throw him in there against someone like Caceres. Very skilled, big step up in competition, but two guys, another very fun fight. Alex Caceres always in a fun fight. This is a great opportunity for Chase Hooper to continue the promotional momentum he has. And it's also an opportunity for Alex Caceres. Chase Hooper's got a little bit of momentum. This is actually very similar in a lot of ways from a marketing promotional sense to the Eddie Wineland versus OMalley fight, where you have young up-and-coming fighter who looks very promising, not necessarily proven, but has a lot of promotional and marketing momentum versus a much more proven veteran who is going to be a stiff test for this young up-and-coming fighter, but who also wants to take some shine from this younger fighter who has a little bit of attention right now. So those fights are always interesting. I think both guys are always highly motivated. So that should be a very good one. And then Cody Stamann versus Brian Kelleher. That's a really fun fight. Another quick turnaround for Kelleher. Charles Byrd versus Maki Pitolo. We got Gerald Mearshart on the card. I feel like that guy fights